Northrop Grumman's space logistics subsidiary is developing the Mission Robotic Vehicle, MRV. Look at that. To extend satellite lifespans, repair orbital equipment, and tackle space debris in geostationary orbit. I feel like this is a question that a lot of people have. We're launching a lot of space up, but how are we going to clean it up? What are we going to do to maintain the stuff up there? And this is a solution to that. Equipped with robotic arms from the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory. What? Who am I? Laboratory. The MRV can perform inspections, reposition satellites, and attach propulsion jetpacks called mission extension pods. Now, these mission extension pods provide an extra 6 years of operational life to satellites without requiring a full service vehicle. Smaller, cheaper than previous MEPs and MEVs. The Intelsat and Optus have already signed on with 3 satellites servicing missions booked before the MRV's launch. And the MRV, and I mentioned this earlier, targets a growing demand. There's 500 satellites in geostationary orbit face end-of-life challenges annually. In an annual basis. Yeah. Wow. So Northrop anticipating this to be big. And more contracts.
You're right. We need that. This is big time because it's getting busy up there. 500 a year. I did not realize that. That's crazy, isn't it? But first thing for me is operational reliability for extreme conditions. You know, what is it? 22,500 miles out above Earth. Geostationary orbit is not just tough, it's brutal up there. I mean, you've got robotic arms, you've got jetpacks, you've got servicing systems that are going to need to work perfectly in the harshest of conditions, or you're dead on arrival with that mission. So imagine kind of explaining to your Intelsat that their satellite new jetpack just got stuck because a robotic arm had stage fright. So it's not a good look in space.
I mean, these things, first off, I don't know, I'll probably date myself here, but I used to play with a thing as a kid called the Armatron, which was like a really cool version of this that you controlled. It was
way before my time.
Yeah, way before your time. But in other words, these things are cool. And the fact that it's passed the thermal vacuum testing already, and the fact that the use case is literally driven by the need to extend the life of satellites. So I think that this robotic payload is promising to transform satellite operations. It's going to help reduce costs for satellite operators. It's going to enable capabilities well beyond what we currently have today. So it's a versatile solution serving the space market, which includes the satellite repair, the repositioning, the debris removal. Mm-hmm. I think that making these is going to be a huge challenge. They're not simple to make. These things look kind of complicated. And then figuring out how to integrate that with the actual use cases and making sure that works with what you're trying to do up in space is a huge design challenge too, which I think they've designed them, it looks like, well already. But I think we're going to have to figure out how to do this, how to actually make them to the correct quality and scale and all of that.
So it's manufacturing, it's design, it's quality, it's scale. So it's basically everything.
It's PLM.
I mean, I get your point on scaling. I mean, that's exciting, but if that robot jams or it malfunctions mid-mission, those client contracts ain't going to scale back pretty quickly, in my opinion. So this isn't space for errors, Brian. Literally, reliability.
No space for errors.
Reliability in geostationary orbit isn't negotiable. The MRV systems need to perform flawlessly under radiation. They've got vacuum conditions. They've got thermal extremes. Getting that right is the key to success before you even think about scalability.
I mean, a robot arm messing up in space is going to be hard to fix without another robot arm in space to fix it. So I'm still thinking that while quality is important, while testing is important, making something this complicated with this many moving parts, with having to function under all of these conditions, testing them out, making them at scale, I think that making them at scale area is going to be the hardest struggle of all of it.
Let's just stick with making them. So before launch, every system, robotic arms, MEPs, propulsion, servicing workflows, everyone is going to need a rigorous virtual and physical testing. Mm-hmm. So I think we can agree on that. Yeah. So product validation and simulation is going to be the number one solution for me. Making sure that these components are validated for extreme space conditions to avoid any of those mission failures. And AI plays to that every time by running simulations. It mimics geostationary conditions. It identifies potential failure points and improves your designs pre-launch.